Welcome back to another episode of Susan LoPresti Wellness, Mind, Body, and Soul. This is the podcast where we explore the highs, the lows, and everything in between when it comes to a woman's life, her health, and all aspects of navigating the midlife landscape. I'm your host, Susan LoPresti, and today I have Anastasia Ristovska, whose journey closely mirrors the values of my podcast. She's making a real difference for small businesses across the U.S. by co founding Books at Ease and Next Generation, offering elite financial insights usually reserved for large corporations. Anastasia's work connects European talents with U.S. business opportunities. I really thought that her perspective would be a wonderful asset to my audience and that my audience would find her to be engaging and valuable. Her experience in growing businesses from the ground up started in Macedonia to now supporting over 100 U.S. firms, and her journey is one of resourcefulness and creativity. With a strong presence on LinkedIn, her followers are engaging and just absolutely love what Anastasia is doing, and she's trusted and she's valued as a resource for helping with financial planning. So, without further ado, Anna, welcome to my podcast. I am so excited to have you here, and I am so excited for our conversation today. Tell us how this career began for you, and how does it relate to a midlife woman as far as financial?
Okay, so I've started my career in finance back 20 years ago, basically when I was a student in financial management. And my passion and love for the numbers actually brought me to this path. But also early in my childhood, I realized how important the numbers are and how important it is for the entrepreneurs, especially for moms who are taking care for their children, to be aware of their numbers and the financial clarity and stability if they're running their own business. Because the story behind this is I had a friend of mine, I mean, I still have her. When we were a young children before we go to the university, her mom had a shop, and she was some sort of person who was not taking care about the numbers. I mean, she enjoyed in what she was doing, but she was not like aware and paying attention to the numbers, and being financially educated to run the business is really important. And I'm saying this because that attitude of her brought her to a situation when she nearly bankrupt, and she wasn't able to pay my friend's education moving forward. And that in that time I thought, okay, this is really what I love to do. And I started my education on the financial management degree. After that, I started working as a finance assistant in an international company. That was my first early start of my career.
Mhm.
But because I'm so passionate about what I'm doing, I've developed very fast to higher position roles. And I was working in few international companies later on as a finance manager. So all of them were in US, like HQ in US, but internationally spread. So I had the opportunity basically to learn about numbers and finances in the corporate world. After that, I finished my MBA because everything in my life is related to numbers and the passion for numbers. And that helped me a lot when I was working in the corporate world to basically put into practice everything that I learned at school, but also learn from the real work. And lastly, I opened my own company. That was 7 years ago when I started my first business, and 3 years ago, my second business. So, how this is, to go back to your question, how this is related to a mature woman. no matter what you're doing in your life, whether you're an entrepreneur or maybe you're a housewife or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's really important to pay attention on your finances, on your numbers, because even though we all want to say, okay, money is not everything in the world, yes, money is something that runs your life. So it can easily take you to a spot when you're, I don't know, you're bankrupting and you're not able to afford your child's education, or you're not able to afford your vacation, or buying a car, or maybe a house that you want to buy. So being financially educated, and when I say educated, I don't mean you need to have a degree, but you need to understand how finances impact your personal or business life, and then make a decision based on number, not on guesses or gut feelings when it comes to the money.
Right. You know, Anastasia, a lot of times if a woman is a stay-at-home mom raising her children, and the husband is out working, what happens is she doesn't pay attention to the finances. She's leaving that all up to her husband. And in the perfect world, marriage will last forever and everything will be great. But in the real world, that's not always the case. And what happens at times is that if you decide to separate, and all of a sudden you realize, well, I don't have any of my own personal money. And not only don't I have any of my own personal money, even though when you're married, you're supposed to be able to split your assets, how will I support myself going forward besides just getting alimony? So there's that whole aspect. And I say this because my mom and my dad, they were married for 50 something years, and my dad always handled all the money. And when my dad passed away, my mom didn't even know how to write a check. She had no idea how to write a check or pay a bill because they got married young and he handled all the finances. And so I feel that it's so important for women to really be educated on, and like I said, like you mentioned, not educated school wise, it doesn't have to be that, but educated on day-to-day finances, what's coming in and what's going out, right? You need to know that. And it's so
Yes.
important. So if you could elaborate on that in a way.
Yes, and you said it very well, and it's really common, especially for the more mature generations, when the finances were predominantly male. Men in the house were handling the finances. And that is situation that is worldwide, not only in the US. But the point is that now, and when I say now, in the last maybe 20, 30 years, things can change dramatically because the women go to some other direction. They are also educated in finances in terms of degree, but also they're paying attention to the finances, which is very important. And as you said, it's really hard to come to a certain stage in your life and suddenly become aware that everything in your previous past life with your partner or whatever, if he passed away or maybe you were
Yes.
divorced, nothing matter, was handled only by him. And now you're confused, you're scared, you're left alone, and you don't know what to do. And you said it very well. You need to be aware where the money are coming in and where the money go. And you can do that by simply making a finance checklist in your home. And it shouldn't be something complex, complicated, just a simple spreadsheet, and put in a rows or columns, okay, I'm earning the money from a salary or a pension or whatever the money are coming in. And then what are my priority expenses that I need to pay each and every month, no matter what happens, because that is really important. When we break that down, we know then the pool that is left, what we have left now to use for other things, something that make us happy, or I don't know, someone wants to spend money on beauty care products, or travel, or go
Entertainment, travel.
entertainment, whatever. Yes. And put a certain percentage of that fund that is remained for that kind of activities, because you cannot live your life only paying your bills and getting in that circle and not giving a pleasure to yourself. And after that, which is very, very important, have a percentage, and it shouldn't be like fixed. It can be, I don't know, $100 or whatever per month. Put as a saving. Put that aside for unpredictable situations, because you don't know what your life is bringing on tomorrow, let's say, or a month after this. So have that savings that will give you a peace of mind that, okay, I have this pool of money. If I need it at certain point, I will be able to use them. But don't leave yourself without that. Because what I've seen working with many clients, and especially female, as you said, they're like focused on the children, they're going at work, earning some money, but everything is in that put in that household as a common fund.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to say is put aside something for you, something if happens, then you will be protected. You will know that, okay, I have this pool of money to make a decision to, I don't know, separate from someone or go to a vacation with my friends. At least it shouldn't be like for black days, but have that in place.
Right. Because you never know what life brings you. Like your husband could get sick and now he's not able to work. And so now what happens, right? And my own personal story was I was 61 years old and I was in corporate America. And I
Mhm.
had a 4-year plan set in front of me. At 65, I was retiring. And at 61, our company merged with another company and I lost my job. And I knew no other corporation was going to hire a woman at 61 years old, paying me the salary that I was making, knowing that in 4 years' time, I would probably be retiring. Plus, they could have gotten in someone much younger than me to replace me, making less money and probably being a lot smarter because kids are, they're quicker on learning different tools and so luckily for me, I had been certified as a health coach but never did anything with it because I was busy in my career, but I was able to pivot and I also had a nice amount of savings that I was contributing to my 401k. But not everyone is that fortunate to have something to fall back on. And so,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, and that's lovely that you brought in, because when you said younger people will replace you, yes, maybe. And I cannot say that they are smarter. Okay, they can be quickly adaptive, like learn
Yes.
new things, as you said. But
Yes.
the experience that you're bringing and you've gained through all those years working, and not only working but living your life, cannot be replaced, because we are learning through our journey, and no matter how smart we are, we cannot have the experience and knowledge at our 30s.
True.
Yes, the energy we can have it, that's for sure, but the experience and the knowledge are gained through the years. So but yes, we are living now in a world when mostly, yes, corporations are hiring, want to optimize on costs. And if they need to choose who they will hire, for sure, they will invest in someone who is less expensive, who have more years to be used in that
Yes.
corporation to contribute. So, yes, but the point that you said is really important. have a backup plan. Even though you will not use that plan in never. I mean, maybe you will never use that backup plan. Have
Mhm.
it in place because it will help you later on when you will face with challenges as you did in your career.
Right, right. The other advantage to working for a large corporation, and it was for me, was the opportunity to be saving in a 401k. And I'm not sure if it was when you hit 50, but at a certain age, you were able to put even more money into your 401k than you were when you were younger. They allowed you to do that. And so at that point, when I did turn, and I think it was 50, I'm not 100% sure, but I was putting the max
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that I wanted to get out as quick as I possibly could. I mean, I was planning to stay to 65, but I wouldn't have stayed a day past 65. So I was putting the maximum amount into my 401k at that time. And luckily, the markets were doing well, and I did well. So even though it wasn't part of my plan to stop working at 61, I was lucky enough to be able to stop and try a new career. And as I'm sure you know, when you're starting something new, you're not making an income day one. It takes time to build up to that. So I was fortunate, but a lot of women may not be as fortunate. So with that scenario in mind, Anna, where someone loses their job in their 60s or late 50s, and they don't have the money to be able to retire early, what kind of advice do you give for a woman like that? Obviously, she's got to go back to work, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, first thing, I'm sure that every woman at her 60s has something that enjoys to do. So no matter if it's that, I don't know, professional career that she had previously or something that she enjoys, like maybe cooking, drawing, coaching, because coaching is something that most women, especially at that age, ignore. And that is really a business that is really good because, as I said, during the years, you are coming to a stage where you have a lot of knowledge, experience, and you've passed a lot of scenarios that can help younger women that are facing, let's say, with the same problem as you were at their age.
Mhm.
So start with giving paid advices. I don't know, yes, of course, you should start working something. And it's not very fortunate if you are at 60 now, start from the scratch. But what I want to say here is that you shouldn't be desperate because I view as cases where women after their retirement started a very successful businesses, and that was simply because now they have time to focus on doing something they enjoy and love to do, while in the past when they were like taking care of the children or for paying for their education, they were not able to afford that because you need to earn money to to support all these activities.
Yeah.
And now when you're free to do whatever you want to, yes, it's hard if you don't have like funds on side, but you can take a loan, you can borrow from your friends, from your family to start at least, and
Mhm.
then slowly build on that. And I'm sure that whatever happens in your life, no matter how desperate it looks like at that point, there's always a hope, there's always a door that will be opened if you're open to receive it, and if
Yes.
you want to do that with your whole heart. And I've seen a lot of examples like that, and I believe that whoever faced with that scenario will find their own way to come out of that problem. for
I
sure.
believe that too. I believe that too. And the other thing for a woman, so I'll use myself as the perfect example, is that I went to corporate America every day. So I live in the outskirts of New York City, so I had to commute. That was an expense. I had to wear nice clothes. That was an expense. I ate breakfast and lunch out every day. That was another expense. And I was saving like $600 a month easily just by not going to work every day, right? And I did not need to have beautiful clothes. I didn't need to eat breakfast out in the morning and spend $15 in New York City for two eggs and some hash browns. So you add all of that up and you're able to really start cutting back on a lot of things because you don't need as much. You don't need to be dressing beautifully every single day. And plus, you have a whole closet filled with clothes. So there are ways of cutting corners, and I did. And I was able to manage in that respect as well. So, yeah, your lifestyle changes.
Yes, absolutely, but that's not how to say it's not bad. I
No,
mean, it's it's only mind shift that
yes,
okay, now I'm in another phase of my life. Now I need to do something else and let's adapt to that new reality because the most beautiful thing in the human being is that the ability of adaptation. So whatever happens in your life, your brain is so smart that will find a way for you to go out of that problem if you're open to do that, as I said. So yes, adapt to the new reality, cut off expenses like unnecessary breakfast, lunch. You can cook at home. You
yes.
can sell your most of the clothes in your
Yes,
closet at a second hand, maybe,
yes,
or I don't know, teach someone, as I said, for something that you love to do as a paid courses, or record a video or on how to make cookies, for example. I had a really nice example that I've heard 2 months ago, I think it was, from a woman who was retired, and she started to record digital courses for making cookies for Christmas, Easter, whatever, and how she decorates them. And it was so good that in 2 years, she hit $1 million selling her courses online. So it
wow,
was, yeah, it was crazy to believe, but that was the reality. And I said, oh my God, you can make money from something that is so simple. I mean, you're recording yourself while you're doing something that you
right,
love to do. And okay, maybe the recording is not something that everyone want to embrace because there are people who don't want to present themselves on camera and so on. But you can, I don't know, you can teach in person or you can sell something without showing yourself. You can
write a
hire some
cookbook,
as a cookbook. Yes, 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 absolutely.
right?
And sell it.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. You know what I did want to ask you, Anna? You were saying about how you need to adapt, that we have the ability to adapt. Give me an example of how a woman who lost her job, because I know for me, the first 2 weeks when I found out that I lost my job, I was devastated because, like I said, I had a plan. And that's the thing with corporate America. You could have a plan, but their plan is going to trump your plan every day. But so after 2 weeks, I started to see it as an opportunity because I also got 14 months of severance pay and they were paying
Mhm.
my medical. But what advice would you give a woman? You said like they have to change their mindset. How does someone go about doing that? Because there's a lot of fear involved when it comes
Yes.
to finances.
Yes, absolutely. And finances are something that is related to the existence of the human being. And that's why we're so scared and so afraid that when we lose them, that now everything changes and now my well-being is compromised. But if we reflect a little bit on ourselves, we will see that, okay, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I have my own two hands and my brain to help me go out from whatever scenario happens in my life. And I know it's devastating and I know it needs time because, of course, we are used to that routine that we were 40, 30 years. But be grateful first for the next day because you wake up this morning, you are alive, you have a chance to change your life, because if you're dead you don't have that, so the game is over. But start being grateful for small things, for the memories that you have in during those years, for the life that you lived, but now it's time to change it. See that as an opportunity to make a change in something that was working X years and now needs a new page to be turned on. So, and no matter, I want to say one thing, no matter if you're more mature or young, the same mental process happens to everyone. If I lose my business now, if I lose my work now, of course I will feel devastated in certain period of time.
Right.
But if I sit down and think about, okay, I'm alive. I'm breathing this air. I have an opportunity to change the things. Then the mind shift will happen. And when you do that, you will see that maybe your neighbor needs your help for something, or maybe the community you're going to, either a church or maybe community that you're handling, or maybe your, I don't know, your music classes, drawing classes, whatever hobby you have, go there, share your story, share that you need help, because the biggest fear that every single person have is to expose herself or himself that now I have a problem, because that affects our ego.
Yeah.
And the ego is another thing which is really really scary if we think about that. So share your problem, ask for help openly. I'm not saying here please give me your money, no, but share, okay, I'm in this situation, I want to change my life, I need an opportunity, someone will step in.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to speak about your problems, because
Yes.
that way people will know that you have a problem. Otherwise, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Anastasia, I wanted to ask you, who is your ideal client?
In terms of, this is a really great question, honestly. So the ideal client of mine is basically a client that I'm working with still almost 5 years now. A client who was opened to share the problems with me when it comes to the finances. And this person had a really big time when the pandemic happens. His business was, he was running a restaurant basically, and he had a lot of problems at that time. But he was so open in the communication to say, okay, I want to keep you as my finance advisor, but I don't have money to pay you now because I have problems. And I said, okay, let's keep this relationship open. I will be here for you for whatever advice you want. I won't charge you. Of course, I won't run your books because you don't have a business, but I will be here to support you. And I'm sure that things will be changed and you will have a chance to move forward. And that happened. And now that client is making a lot of money, and I have a higher, how to say, bill for that client. But the open relationship and as I said, the openness to speak for your problems
Yes.
openly is really important, because now we know each other as a family members.
Yes.
I know when he had a bad time. Now I know him when he is good at his business, but he remembers me as a person who was here to step in when he was not doing very well. And I didn't, how to say, leave him
Yes,
to
that's very
yeah.
important because it shows that you just don't care about what you're getting from him, but you care about him as your client and as a person, as an individual. And that's
Yes.
beautiful. So, is most of your work where you're financially advising individuals, or is it corporations? Or a mixture of everyone?
Yeah, so my business basically 90%. I have clients that are like this one that we are working longer period, are digital businesses. So I work with small and medium-sized businesses in the digital world, like coaches, digital marketing agencies, software companies. So those are my customers, let's say. And
Mm-hmm.
also I have customers like this one who are from different industries, but my focus is working with business owners. I'm
Okay.
not an advisor for personal finances.
Okay. Okay. That's great. And so leave me with some final thoughts.
Okay, yes. So my final thought will be, I will go back to the beginning. First of all, be aware of where you are in your journey. If you're an entrepreneur, know at what stage your business is. If you are not an entrepreneur, know at what stage of your life you are and how many years you have until your retirement. Second thing, make sure if you're a business owner, make sure you understand your numbers, because numbers can destroy or build up your business. And if you are not a business owner, understand your home finances. As we said at the beginning, where the
Mm-hmm.
money are coming, where the money are going. And be open again to share the problems you're facing with, no matter if you're entrepreneur or not, because that way the people who are working with you or are part of your life will find a way to help you somehow. So be open, don't be afraid, and be grateful for tomorrow, for the day you're living, and the future that is coming.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anastasia, for coming on.